The city was half asleep, the kind of night when rain moves softly against windows like a whisper you almost recognize. Aariz sat alone on his couch, a mug of coffee cooling in his hand and the low hum of a ceiling fan filling the silence. 5 years had passed since college, yet some nights still felt like the dorm room he left behind. Unfinished laughter, unfinished words. The knock came just after midnight. One sharp, hesitant sound. He froze. No one ever knocked this late. Another knock, heavier this time. Aariz set down the cup, heartbeat rising for reasons he couldn't name. When he opened the door, the hallway light carved a figure out of the rain, a tall man, soaked through, hair plastered to his forehead. Rehan. The name left his mouth before thought could catch it. Rehan looked up. The same eyes. The same small smile that once lit up 1,000 hours of their youth. Only now there was something else in them. Tiredness, maybe guilt, maybe both. "Hey," Rehan said, voice rough. "You still make coffee at midnight." Aariz almost laughed, almost slammed the door, almost reached forward. Instead, he stepped aside. "Come in before you drown." Rehan entered slowly, dripping water onto the floorboards. The air between them thickened, like the humidity before a storm. Aariz handed him a towel, and their fingers brushed. The touch was brief, but it was enough to bring every buried memory rushing back. Dorm lights, music, the way Rehan had looked at him the night before graduation, half drunk, half honest. They hadn't spoken since. "You're here," Aariz managed. "After all this time." Rehan gave a short laugh that didn't reach his eyes. 5 years isn't that long, is it? "It depends on what you're counting," Aariz said. For a moment, they just looked at each other. The clock ticked behind them, steady and cruel. Aariz noticed how Rehan's jaw had sharpened, how his hands fidgeted with the edge of the towel, how his eyes kept avoiding his. "Sit," Aariz said finally. "I'll make fresh coffee." While he boiled water, Rehan walked around the small apartment, stopping at the framed photo on the shelf, their old college team, arms over shoulders, sun in their faces. Aariz heard him exhale. "I didn't think you'd still have this. I didn't think you'd still remember it," Aariz replied. When he handed the mug over, Rehan's fingers lingered too long around the handle. They sat opposite each other, steam curling between them like a fragile veil. "So," Aariz said quietly, "what brings you here, Rehan?" "It's after midnight. You could have called." "I tried," Rehan said. "Twice. I deleted the messages." "Why?" Rehan's gaze lifted. In it, Aariz saw everything words had failed to say. The night of their graduation, the almost kiss, the sudden goodbye. The years of silence after. "Because I didn't know if I was ready to see what I left behind," Rehan said at last. Aariz's throat tightened. The rain pressed harder against the glass, like it wanted to listen. Somewhere inside, something long frozen began to stir. Rehan put the cup down, untouched. "I couldn't sleep tonight," he whispered. "I dreamed about us, about that night. And I woke up knowing I had to see you." The words landed heavy, electric. The air shifted. Aariz wanted to speak, but Rehan's eyes held him still, guilty, yearning, honest. For the first time in years, Aariz didn't know whether to breathe or break. Outside, the thunder rolled. Inside, the past began to move again. The rain softened to a drizzle, the kind that sounds more like memory than weather. Rehan sat on the edge of the couch, palms clasped, eyes fixed on the floor. Aariz leaned back in his chair, watching him quietly, trying to decide whether he was dreaming or remembering. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Aariz said, softly, "You said you dreamed about us." Rehan nodded. "Yeah, it was college again. The night before graduation. You were sitting on a rooftop, talking about the future, and I was pretending to listen. I kept thinking, don't say anything stupid, don't ruin this. But I ruined it anyway, didn't I?" Aariz didn't answer. The room seemed smaller with those words floating in it. He poured more coffee just to do something with his hands. Steam rose like the ghosts of everything left unsaid. 5 years ago, their friendship had been the kind that turned ordinary moments into something bigger. Late-night study sessions that ended in laughter, shared fries after soccer practice, music in the dorms until dawn. They were inseparable, though no one ever called it that. Rehan was the kind of person everyone noticed. Loud, confident, charming. Aariz, the quiet one, steady, thoughtful. But together they balanced each other perfectly. That last semester, something had started to shift. A glance that lasted too long. A hand resting on a shoulder a moment too late to be casual. The small, dangerous warmth of being seen. Back in the present, Aariz smiled faintly. "I remember that night," he said. "You kept making jokes about who would get rich first." "Yeah," Rehan said, a small laugh escaping him. "You said you'd write books. I said I'd build companies. We both lied. Maybe not lied," Aariz murmured. "Just didn't know what kind of men we'd become." Silence again, the kind that means something. Rehan stood and walked to the window, staring at the wet city lights. "Do you ever think about that night? About what happened?" Aariz's hand froze halfway to his cup. He had thought about it every year, every quiet evening that felt too long. The way Rehan had looked at him when they were both a little drunk, a little honest. The way Rehan's voice had trembled when he said, "You're the only one I'll miss." And then the touch, unexpected, uncertain, that ended too quickly. "I think about it," Aariz said finally. "More often than I should." Rehan turned. The light from the street caught half his face, the rest hidden in shadow. "I didn't mean to disappear, Aariz. I woke up the next morning and panicked. I thought if I stayed, I'd do something that'd ruin both our lives." "So you left before sunrise," Aariz said quietly, without a word. "I thought it was the right thing." "It never is," Aariz replied. "Silence never is." Rehan's lips parted, but no words came. Instead, he sat back down, close enough that Aariz could feel the warmth of him through the air. "5 years," Rehan whispered. "I tried to move on. I even got married. I thought maybe I just missed a friendship. But when it ended, I realized what I really missed was you. The way you saw me before I learned how to hide." Aariz felt something twist inside. He had waited years to hear something like that, and now that it was here, he didn't know what to do with it. "Rehan," he said softly, "you can't come back after 5 years and say things like that." "I know," Rehan said, "but it's the truth." Outside, the rain stopped. The night air grew still. Aariz stood, trying to collect himself, but the apartment seemed to pulse with the weight of the past. Every inch of space between them felt charged, full of what might happen if either of them moved. "I kept your number saved," Aariz said after a while. "Every time I thought about deleting it, I couldn't. I guess part of me was still waiting." Rehan looked up. "And now?" Aariz met his eyes, those same brown eyes that had once looked at him with laughter and confusion all at once. "Now, I don't know if I'm ready to forgive you or to lose you again." Rehan smiled sadly. "Then don't decide tonight. Just let me stay a while." The words hung between them, simple but heavy with everything underneath. Aariz hesitated, then nodded. "You can take the couch." Rehan chuckled softly. "Still the same Aariz. Still the same Rehan," Aariz replied, but the way he said it carried years of ache and affection. They both knew sleep would be impossible. Memories, once buried, had found their way back. And as Rehan settled in, Aariz stood by the window, watching the last of the rain disappear into the streetlights. His reflection beside Rehan's faintly visible in the glass. It felt like the beginning of something inevitable. The night stretched on, quiet but restless. The rain had stopped, leaving behind that strange stillness cities get after a storm. Every sound sharper, every breath louder. The scent of damp earth drifted through the half-open window. Aariz couldn't sleep. He sat on the arm of the couch, pretending to scroll through his phone, though his mind was miles away, or maybe 5 years back. Rehan lay nearby, half covered by a blanket, his breathing slow but not quite steady. "Are you awake?" Aariz asked softly. Rehan opened one eye and smiled faintly. "I was waiting for you to ask." Aariz shook his head, hiding a smile. "Still dramatic. Still pretending you don't care," Rehan said. That hit deeper than it should have. Aariz looked away, his throat dry. "You always knew how to say too much." Rehan sat up, resting his elbows on his knees. The faint light from the window outlined his face. Sharper, older, but familiar. and you always knew how to say nothing. For a few seconds, their eyes held, the air between them tight with things that wanted to be said, but didn't know how. Aariz sighed. Do you ever think about what we could have been if you hadn't left? Rehan's reply was immediate, almost painful. Every day, Aariz felt the words more than he heard them. He looked at Rehan, then really looked at the tiredness around his eyes, the uncertainty in his smile. This wasn't the loud, confident boy from college. This was someone who had seen too much, lost too much, and was finally ready to admit it. I used to replay that night in my head, Aariz said quietly, trying to decide if it meant what I thought it did, or if I imagined it. Rehan leaned back, eyes searching his. You didn't imagine it. Lightning flashed outside, painting the room in white for a heartbeat. Then darkness. The power went out. The hum of the refrigerator died. The ceiling fan stilled. The city sank into silence. Only the sound of rainwater dripping from rooftops remained. Rehan's voice came softly through the dark. Guess we're back to old times. Power cuts and long talks. Aariz chuckled nervously. Yeah, except this time I don't have a candle. Wait. Rehan fumbled through his bag and pulled out his phone, switching on the flashlight. The beam was soft but steady, lighting the space between them, just enough for their faces to be visible and nothing else. Aariz felt his chest tighten. Shadows moved gently across Rehan's features, making him look almost like the boy he used to be. Funny, Rehan said, voice low. We used to talk about the future like we'd always be in it together. Things change, Aariz said, though his tone made it sound more like a question than a fact. Rehan took a slow breath. They don't have to. Aariz's pulse jumped. Rehan. Rehan set the phone down between them. It's like casting a fragile halo over their hands. I came here tonight because I couldn't keep pretending I forgot you. Every time I told myself I moved on, something, a song, a place, your name, and an old message would pull me back. Aariz felt his defenses crumble piece by piece. You shouldn't say things like that. Why not? Because I'll believe them. Rehan's eyes softened. Maybe that's the point. The silence that followed was heavier than thunder. Aariz could hear his own heartbeat, steady and frightened. He didn't move, not when Rehan reached out, not when his hand brushed lightly against Aariz. That touch was barely anything, but it felt like a spark, quiet, real, inevitable. 5 years, Rehan whispered, his voice unsteady. And it still feels like yesterday. Aariz swallowed hard. Some yesterdays never end. The light flickered once, then steadied again. The city outside remained dark, but inside that small apartment, everything felt illuminated. They stayed that way for a long time, between words and silence, between what was and what could still be. Finally, Rehan leaned back and whispered, "Let's not run away this time." Aariz looked at him, the rain returning softly against the windows. Then don't give me a reason to. Neither of them said another word. The night didn't need them to. The silence after Rehan's last words hung in the air like smoke, visible, lingering, impossible to ignore. Outside, the rain had quieted to a mist. Inside, the air was thick with something else, a truth neither of them had dared to name. Aariz stood and walked toward the window, needing space, though the room already felt too small for the weight between them. He stared at the glass, fogged by breath and moisture, watching the faint reflections, two shadows caught in the same frame. "I thought I'd forgotten," he said, voice low. "You that night, everything. I told myself it didn't matter anymore. But seeing you now, it's like," he trailed off, "like you never stopped." Rehan finished gently. Aariz turned, his eyes full of something between anger and longing. "You don't get to say that. You walked away." "I know." Rehan rose slowly, as though afraid of breaking whatever fragile balance existed between them. "I thought leaving was the right thing. We were young, confused. I didn't understand what I felt for you. I told myself it was a phase, a mistake." Aariz laughed softly, bitterly. "A mistake that's still haunting you." Rehan's shoulders dropped. "Yeah, every day." He took a hesitant step forward. "I try to build a life, Aariz. I really did. Got married, worked, smiled for people who expected me to be someone I wasn't. But every time I closed my eyes, I saw your face the night before graduation. You looked at me like you knew what I couldn't say. Aariz' voice trembled. And what was that? Rehan took another step closer. The space between them shrank to a breath. That I loved you. The words hit like lightning, sudden, blinding, impossible to unhear. Aariz froze. His throat tightened, and for a moment he couldn't speak. You can't just say that now. Aariz said finally, his voice breaking. After years, after all the silence. I'm saying it because it's the truth, Rehan said. And maybe it's too late. Maybe it changes nothing. But I can't live another day pretending it didn't happen. Aariz pressed a hand against his chest, trying to steady his breathing. His heart was loud in the quiet. You think I didn't love you too? He said, barely above a whisper. Why do you think it hurt so much when you left? Rehan's eyes widened, the smallest trace of hope flickering through the exhaustion. You did. Aariz smiled, tears stinging his eyes. You were everything I couldn't admit I wanted. But when you disappeared, I told myself it meant nothing, that maybe it was all in my head. Rehan moved closer still until there was barely an inch between them. The faint scent of rain and coffee lingered on his skin. And now, Aariz looked up at him, their faces lit only by the dim glow of Rehan's phone flashlight on the table. Now I don't know if I should be angry at you or grateful that you came back. Rehan's hand twitched as if fighting the urge to reach out. Maybe both. Aariz took a slow, unsteady breath. You hurt me, Rehan, but you also made me feel something no one else ever has. I don't know how to let that go. Rehan finally closed the distance. Their foreheads touched, a gesture softer and truer than any words. The world seemed to fall silent around them. Two people, 5 years of silence collapsing into one fragile moment of understanding. Rehan's voice trembled. I don't want to lose you again. Aariz whispered, then don't. They stood like that for a long time, the past dissolving in the quiet rhythm of shared breath. There was no need for promises, not yet. Only the truth, finally spoken aloud, alive between them. Outside, dawn began to hint at the horizon, pale and uncertain, like forgiveness just beginning to take shape. The night folded around them like a secret. The rain had stopped completely now, leaving only the soft sound of water running along the gutters outside. Inside, the air felt charged, as if even the walls knew something had shifted. Aariz and Rehan stood motionless for a few seconds, their foreheads still touching. Then Aariz pulled back slightly, eyes glimmering in the faint light. You shouldn't have said that, he whispered. Rehan's voice was low but steady. Maybe not, but it's been inside me for years. It was never going to stay quiet forever. For a long moment, they simply looked at each other. Every unspoken thing seemed to surface all at once. The years apart, the messages never sent, the nights spent wondering. The distance between them was gone now, replaced by the heavy calm that comes right after a storm. Aariz walked to the window and drew the curtains open. The city lights reflected on the wet streets below. It looked like the world had been washed clean. Behind him, he could hear Rehan's footsteps, slow, hesitant. Do you ever wish, Rehan said softly, that we could go back and start again? Aariz turned, eyes tired but warm. I used to. Now, I just wish we'd been honest the first time. Rehan nodded. Then maybe this is our second chance. He reached out. Aariz didn't move away. Their fingers met, tentatively at first, then firmly, as if both were afraid of losing the moment. That small touch was louder than any confession. Aariz could feel his pulse racing. He wanted to speak, but the words stayed trapped somewhere between fear and forgiveness. Rehan stepped closer, and the space between their hands disappeared. 5 years, Aariz said under his breath. You have no idea what that does to a person. Rehan's expression softened. Maybe I do. I counted them too. The room felt smaller, warmer. The steady rhythm of their breathing seemed to fill it. When Rehan reached up to brush a raindrop, or maybe a tear, from Aariz's cheek, the gesture felt like an answer to every question they'd left unfinished. Neither of them spoke after that. They didn't need to. The moment itself said everything. that love could survive distance, that silence wasn't the same as forgetting, that even broken connections sometimes find their way back. They sat together on the couch, shoulders touching, listening to the quiet. Rehan leaned back, eyes half closed. Aariz watched him for a while, wondering how someone could feel both familiar and new at the same time. "Do you think it's possible," Rehan murmured, "to fall for the same person twice?" Aariz smiled faintly. "Maybe it's not falling again. Maybe it's just remembering how it felt the first time." Rehan turned his head toward him. The soft glow from the phone light caught their faces, tracing every line of exhaustion and hope. Aariz reached out, letting his hand rest over Rehan's. No words, just warmth. Outside, thunder rumbled far away, the last echo of the storm. Inside, two hearts found a rhythm that felt almost like peace. When sleep finally came, it came gently, not as escape but as acceptance. The night had not been about control or losing it. It had been about understanding what they'd been denying for years. For the first time in a long while, Aariz didn't dream of regret. He dreamed of quiet mornings and open windows and a voice whispering, "Stay." The world was quiet when Aariz woke. For a moment, he couldn't tell whether it was dawn or dream, just a faint light filtering through the curtains and the hum of the city slowly coming back to life. The air still smelled faintly of rain and coffee. He turned his head toward the couch. Empty. The blanket was folded neatly, the mug from last night washed and placed upside down on the counter. It was as if Rehan had never been there at all. Aariz sat up, the sudden emptiness pressing down on him. "Rehan," he called, though the apartment was too small for anyone to hide in. Only the silence answered back. Then he saw it, a folded piece of paper on the coffee table. His name written in Rehan's familiar handwriting. Hands trembling, Aariz picked it up. "Aariz, I don't know how to explain what last night meant to me, or how much it hurt to realize what I'd lost by leaving. But I can't stay. Not now. I came to say goodbye the right way this time, face to face. I'm leaving for Dubai today, maybe for good. Please don't hate me for going. Some things are too late to fix, but I wanted you to know, finally, that you were never a mistake. Rehan." Aariz read the note twice, then again. The words blurred as tears filled his eyes. He pressed the paper to his chest, the ache spreading through him like the echo of thunder after a storm has already passed. 5 years of silence, one night of truth, and another departure. He walked to the window, staring out at the washed-out city. Life below was already moving on. Cars, people, sunlight flickering on puddles. Everything so ordinary it almost hurt. He whispered, "You could have stayed." The clock on the wall ticked toward 9. Rehan's flight would be boarding soon. Aariz thought about running out the door, about catching a taxi, about saying all the things he hadn't yet said, "Stay, try, don't go again." But his feet didn't move. Instead, he stood there, holding the note like something sacred. Then, just as he was about to turn away, his phone buzzed on the table. A new message from Rehan. Aariz froze. His breath caught as he opened it. "Come downstairs." No explanation, no emoji, just 2 words. His heart slammed against his ribs. He dropped the note, grabbed his jacket, and ran. Down the stairs, past the sleepy guard, out into the bright, wet morning. The air smelled of rain and possibility. At the edge of the street, a car engine idled softly. Aariz slowed, scanning the road, his pulse quickening. He took a step forward and stopped. The story ends there. On the threshold between past and future, love and loss, knowing and not knowing. Because some moments aren't meant to be finished, only felt.